Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And you see the title of this video, you know what it's about. Before we get too deep into this video, I do want to give a shout out to a piece of merch that we just dropped, a wonderfully designed shirt from Mr. Dominic Rabrin, whose YouTube channel and Twitter we will link down below. It is a celebration of the My Beautiful Dark Twist Fantasy 6, Loving the Sword, the Melon, the 6, My Decapitated Head. I'm loving it. And it's linked down below. And it's available for a limited time only. And given that this is a Tyler video, I thought it would be apt to mention that those grabbing the shirt now will be in the running for a bit of an Igor raffle, as we have 4 fresh vinyl copies of the album, you know, sort of like original cover. We have alternative cover. We have picture disc over here as well. So those who grab one of these shirts will be in the running to get a fresh vinyl copy of this record. So you like the shirt? You like Igor? You want to be in the running to get a free, fresh vinyl copy? Hit up that link down below. Let's go. Drake, Aubrey Graham, Champagne Poppy got booed off the stage at Tyler, the Creator's Camp Flog Gnaw Festival 2019. Many of you watching this video have seen the footage. It's pretty ugly. Drake looks kind of defeated, unfortunately, as he is having to, or just really choosing to, honestly, as a result of some very rude people in the crowd, to leave the stage, not continue performing, even though I imagine Drake was most likely billed for as short of a set as some of the artists, some of the bigger named artists who were performing before him were. From what I understand, A$AP Rocky, Lil Uzi Vert only came on before him, performed a couple of songs. Even though Drake was one of the bigger names in this batch of artists that were being mixed together on the particular stage where he was performing, I think Drake was just continuing because he felt like he wanted to continue. Meanwhile, Drake being a surprise and the audience understanding that there was going to be a surprise guest or surprise guests on this bill, thought there was going to be another artist coming down the pipe, specifically Frank Ocean, which I guess it's not too crazy to make that assumption as a longtime Tyler or Odd Future fan, because Frank is a huge artist. A surprise performance from him would be amazing, and he is very deeply connected to Tyler and the Odd Future brand, so it could have been Frank. It very well could have been Frank. However, I wouldn't have gotten my hopes up too much personally, because Frank does tend to play it pretty elusively. Still, though, that's the situation. That's what happened. To get more details on this, I say we go straight to the Igor's mouth, because Tyler kind of went in on this whole situation on Twitter. And then after that, I will go into some takeaways that I personally have post this whole Drake booing debacle. Tyler says, "I thought bringing one of the biggest artists on the fucking planet to a music festival was fire, but flip side, a little tone deaf knowing the specific crowd it drew. Some created a narrative in their head and acted like assholes when it didn't come true, and I don't fuck with that." This much is true. I cannot disagree with what Tyler has said here. There were fans who assumed that an artist that they liked a little bit more, an artist who they associate a bit more deeply with Tyler or Odd Future, Frank Ocean, was going to perform as a surprise, and instead they got Drake. And I don't think that's anything to poo-poo. I don't think that's anything to get mad at. Sure, it was a little tone deaf given that Tyler's fan base, I don't think, fucks with Drake that heavy. I think Tyler's fan base may enjoy a Drake song here or there, but personally, over my years of covering Tyler, covering Drake, dealing with their audiences, doesn't strike me as there being like a whole ton of overlap between those crowds of people, the Drake fans and the Tyler fans. For sure there's some, but it doesn't strike me as a situation where there's a whole lot of overlap. We also have Tyler saying that shit was mob mentality and cancel culture in real life, and I think that shit is fucking trash. I wouldn't have said it was necessarily cancel culture. Nobody was really trying to cancel Drake. I just think that everyone was unhappy with the surprise, and the crowd doesn't really care for Drake. If Drake had been billed and did a build performance on this stage and crowds expected it, I think that they would have probably let Drake very politely go through his set. Some of them maybe even would have vibed to the Drake set. But instead, you had a good number of people, not everyone, mind you, because the footage is not so brutal to where the entire crowd is turning against him. There are clearly some people there who are fine with what's going on the stage, but enough people were loud enough and rude enough to where Drake just didn't see any reason to continue with his set. But still, I wouldn't go as far as to call it cancel culture, because nobody is canceling Drake over any specific thing. It is, just as Tyler said earlier, a narrative, an expectation based on that surprise, not playing out to the crowd's expectations or assumptions, and then them essentially revolting as a result of that. Going further into it, he's talking about how he loves what Drake was doing. That shit happens, so on and so forth. The tweet that hit me the most, and I thought was the most hilarious, was this description of a woman with a tears down her eyes in the front and saying, what the fuck is this shit? I don't know. A little overly dramatic for a Drake set that you didn't expect. You know, a little overly dramatic, but still pretty funny. So anyway, 3 takeaways from this situation as I have tried to explain it so far. These are my opinions and my views on what is transpired here. The first takeaway from this is that Drake did not deserve it. No, Drake did not deserve this. Drake did not deserve this treatment. You could say, and I would agree to an extent, Drake is not the best artist in the world. He's kind of a D-bag sometimes. He's done some very questionable things in the past. You know, he's not someone who I would volunteer to hang out with and have fun with personally. But as an artist, as a performer, as somebody who came to the festival to do a job to the same degree of quality that everybody else on that same stage was doing it. You know, I'm not going to say personally I would go crazy over a Drake set, but was he performing as well as Rocky and Uzi Vert were before him? Most likely, yes. Now, one could argue that another reason for the negativity toward Drake's set is that it was going on much longer than the artists previous to him, and that's fine. Fair critique. I mean, it is a music festival with paying customers. Drake shouldn't just be hopping on the stage to play some songs that Tyler likes and going on for an undefined period of time. On top of that, this could have been planned better. Looking at you, Tyler. I think that a big name music festival with artists on it as big as Drake, and we're especially talking about slots in this music festival that are main slots, headliner slots, that sort of thing. Having these be a surprise, especially when your festival tends to pull in music listeners that are a bit more on the alternative side, like listening to artists that are a bit more underground or a bit more left field, considering that having these slots be a surprise is not a good idea. It's very much a crapshoot, especially when you're putting somebody on the stage like Drake. You know, not everybody is crazy for Drake. He is one of the most famous and one of the most popular artists out there on the planet, but not everybody is into Drake all of the time. You know what I mean? So it was a huge risk. It obviously didn't pan out. I know that Tyler tends to do everything for himself. He makes music for himself. He pretty much bills this festival for himself, you know, really. And look, the reason the festival does so well, it's a mark of his good taste. You know, it's the fact that he is able to pull on so many great and interesting artists that makes Flog Gnaw as great as it is, as successful a venture as it is. But still, having things like this be a surprise and allow the audience, give the audience the opportunity to create an assumption that they're just banking on and they'll fucking die if it doesn't pan out, it's not a great idea. I would not continue to do it. And if you continue going forward with names as big as Drake, bill them and structure their sets out so it doesn't seem like it's confusing to the audience. And the last takeaway from this, in my opinion, is audiences are spoiled, man. While I sympathize with people who would have wanted to see Frank Ocean than Drake, because 10 times out of 10, I would rather see Frank Ocean than Drake. But still, I can't help but feel like this is a product of an age where audiences can get access to whatever media, whatever sounds they want on demand, ASAP. There's no patience. There's no willingness to sit through something maybe you're not super crazy about. As soon as you're unhappy, you have to voice it right there, right then, and it needs to be addressed ASAP. And I don't know. I just feel like that's a really ugly, entitled, as Tyler said earlier, entitled attitude to have. It's not a good look. It is not pretty. I would have just sat through the fucking Drake set and just enjoyed whatever songs of his that I liked. You know, I like Hotline Bling. I like some of his singles. You know, and even if you played a few tracks off of Scorpion that I thought sucked, you know, whatever. Drake's one of the biggest artists on the planet. It could have been cool just to kind of see that and just be in the presence of one of the most influential rappers of this decade, of this generation. You know, dude, whether you like him or not, whether you like his music or not, has had a giant impact. And there have been plenty of artists over the years that I've seen live in person. And, you know, sometimes their music sounds a little bit better, more interesting, or at least brings a new dynamic seeing it performed in front of me than just listening to it on a CD, on a record, as an MP3, as a stream. So I don't know. There's a silver lining to every cloud. Those are my thoughts. Those are my takeaways. That's my opinion. You guys let me know what you think about this whole situation. One more time, the shirts we have linked down below. Bop, 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 bop. Love that design. Shout out to Dominic Rabrin for getting this together and making this magic happen. Down there in the description box, again, you can find the link to that. Over here next to my head is a video that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Tyler the Creator, Drake forever.